Welcome into the Irish Squad Show. I am Joe George, post-game host, and I'll tell you, the defense is looking very, very good for Notre Dame.
This is Reggie Brooks, 1993 All-American. I just got these slow starts are killing me. We got to develop a rhythm much sooner on the offensive side of the football.
I'm Alan Pinkett, two-time All-American. It's good to win, but it's great to cover.
Play like a champion today. It's the Fighting Irish Squad Show. Everything Notre Dame Fighting Irish every week. Breaking down the biggest news and game-changing plays the way only Locked On Podcast Network can. Wake up the echoes. The Fighting Irish Squad Show starts now.
Welcome into the Irish Squad Show here on the Locked On Irish YouTube channel. Joe George, Reggie Brooks, and Alan Pinkett here with you as Notre Dame gets the win 36-7 over North Carolina State. And, well, Alan, you said there before we started, they covered. It didn't feel like they were going to cover at the end of the first half when they were winning 10-7. It wasn't sure they were going to win this game with the way the offense was playing. But it's a tale of two halves in this one. Two different football teams, it feels like, in this game. So, Reggie, I'll start with you. We'll kick it off with the first half, and we'll start with the bad stuff first. What did you see in the first half that went so wrong for the Irish before they turned it on in the second half?
A lot of it was, like I said, on up front on the offensive line. Several times I saw guys, like I said, going for a reach block, and they're getting undercut. They're just not getting up to that next level and getting on the linebackers. I mean, there were some holes that were, available to the backs, but just too many missed blocks up front that just are blocks that they should have gotten. When you're doing a tag block, you got to tag off to the next guy, but you got to sustain and not allow to get penetration with the defensive lineman up front, and it just no rhythm. The last few games, the rhythm of the offense just been bad, and then to go 0-4 in the first half on fourth down, not pretty, not pretty at all.
Hey, why didn't somebody tell me that Dan Campbell took over as the head coach of Notre Dame? Because
they're going for it.
I understand going for it on fourth down because you do send a lot of confidence and trust to the players that, hey, look, I can count on you guys. We could punt or we could kick a field goal, but I'm counting on you guys to make a play. But there were some times when, especially near the end of the half, that I'd wish that they would just kick the field goal because they were going to get the ball to start the second half anyway. I guess I admire them more for going for it on fourth down than anything else. But, sometimes that machismo enters into your play calling. And I was just kind of surprised that we didn't just take the points and went for it on fourth down. Now, it didn't end up affecting us in the end because Notre Dame finally woke up. But I can't say they were sleepwalking in the first half. I think I have to go back to what Reggie was saying. Some of the fundamental things that Notre Dame needs to have happen on offense wasn't happening. But I have to, I guess, give a lot of credit to the defense because the defense just held them to 7 points in the first half. And even though NC State got an explosive play to make the touchdown, dude was right there to try and knock the pass away. I mean, it was just a matter of inches. So it was actually decent coverage. He did catch, after getting beat, he did catch up to the guy. And maybe just he needed to be 2 inches taller or have a reach 4 inches more to slap the ball out of the way. But good teams are going to take advantage of you when you bust the coverage. But credit to the defense, but the offense, I was really hoping that they could, stomp their foot on NC State in the first half. But they needed to make it suspenseful and keep us waiting till the second.
I'm curious what are your guys' thoughts on how they handled the, Reggie, you mentioned the slow start there. at the end of the first quarter, I was like, did I miss something with Jadarian Price? Like, is he on the injury report? Because he didn't touch the ball in the first quarter. Jeremiyah Love had 9 carries, and then we saw Price start the second quarter. Obviously, the kickoff return, and then he's in the game that whole possession basically. You do that slow. You have that slow start, and it's just Love back there. I was surprised we didn't see some try to change a pace then when it just wasn't clicking for you in that first quarter itself. It was a strange first half because I mean it really feels like everything kind of went wrong. The fourth down conversions, missed passes, the pass blocking, the run blocking, none of it really worked well for the Irish. What do you like? Do you guys have a reason why you think that's happening, or is it just a slow start that's unfortunate for the Irish today?
Again, just you even go back to the Boise State game, just the lack of rhythm offensively. And, part of that's the play calling. Again, you got to find out what's working for your guys. And, just like, defensively, if you have breakdowns in certain areas, you got breakdowns in offense where, one guy, misses the block or steps the wrong way, or the back's not as patient as they need to be. And you have mistakes that are made, and it just takes one guy to make a mistake that penalizes basically the other 10 guys. So offense is very rhythmical in how it moves, and you got to find a flow. And like what was working, I was kind of surprised that we didn't do more trying to go to the tight end, because I saw he had developed kind of a rhythm with Eli Reardon. And again, he was working in the middle of the field. And I just like, hey, that's you got something going there. Keep working that. When you find that thing that's working for you, ride that out. And I just don't think they were doing that. It was just kind of like it was just too discombobulated. The play calling and the execution just wasn't matching up. Very similar to how the first half of the season, the defense, just wasn't able to wasn't matching up. And now defense is on fire right now. 6 or 7 interceptions over the last 2 games, holding both teams, 14 points in the last 2 games. This defense is looking good, but you can see guys know where they're going, and they're getting there with purpose and energy. Again, NC State, not a great team, but like I said, I love where our defense is now, but we got to get the offense back on track from a rhythm standpoint. CJ had a good game, but I got to go out there and say, I thought he was going to throw for 4 touchdowns, and didn't happen. I was after the first half, I'm like, dang, I'm gonna stop doing the predictions. This is not going well for me. They just they could not develop a rhythm, and a lot of that I feel is from again busted plays or a couple of mental errors with the offensive line and certain players. But secondly, is again the play calling. Said you got to find out that thing and ride that horse as long as you can. And they just weren't doing it. They were just trying to find something, and it just wasn't clicking.
I tell you what it looked like to me, and Reggie, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I thought Jeremiyah Love was predetermining his read. I think a lot of times he's so explosive that, he just, on his first read, he just likes to, find his crease and get up in it, where there were a couple of occasions where if he just read it, he would have bounced the thing outside. Now, he corrected that in the second half, but in the first half, it just seemed like I'm supposed to go through the C gap. I'm going through the C gap, daggone it. And that's the way he ran. And he's so explosive that when he gets up in the hole, he can still generate some more yards because he's so strong and he's got good forward lean. But to me, it kind of felt like, he already made his mind up where he was going to take the ball instead of watching the flow of the defense. And I think the reason Jadarian Price gets more long runs is because he actually does a good job of reading the defense, watching the flow. And although he wants to bounce it, he doesn't go outside right away. He'll still stick it up inside to suck in the defense, then bounce it. I think if, Jeremiyah Love did that, he would have had a lot more yards this game. I think he eventually did it in the second half. But I'd love to get your thoughts on that, Red. Did it feel like that to you?
I was just glad that he wasn't jumping. That was the thing I was happy about.
He did jump
kept his
once.
feet on the ground.
Yeah.
For the most part, he kept his feet on the ground, and again, he was getting behind his pads, because he had some energy and force. But I do believe, again, he may have been pressing. I think he's been pressing because a lot of the defenses are keying on him. When they see him, when he's in the game, they're locked in on him. And again, they're looking to stop him, just like, our defense was, focused on stopping some others, which again, definitely worked for us. But I do believe, again, as he just needs to continue to trust himself and, like I said, find that flow and not be so predetermined. So I agree with you on that. It's just, I think he's pressing because he feels he has to do something when he goes out there. And I think, again, when he starts to let the game come back to him or come to him, he'll have a lot more success, because that's what, he did last year.
Yeah.
He just stayed within the flow of the game. Yeah. But back to that point, if you don't have a good flow of rhythm offensively, it can look disjointed. And I think that's, you start to press because you're trying to make something happen instead of, like I said, playing and staying within the rhythm of the game. But if you don't have a rhythm offensively, it's hard to stay in the flow because there's no flow to stay into. So you kind of start to do some other things that you wouldn't normally do.
Yeah, and I tell you, I've been guilty of pressing the issue, no doubt, because it's frustrating to get stopped after 2 yards. And, it'll be little things. And, it feels so good to bust one in the secondary that, that feeling is addicting. And when you're not getting that, it can tend to frustrate you. And you do have to allow the game to come to you and read your keys. And sometimes slow down. Slow down. You got enough time. You don't have to run into the lineman's ass. You can just slow down. You got to have that correct speed going into the line of scrimmage so you can accelerate through the hole. So I'm guilty of it myself, pressing the issue, and I think we are seeing him press it a little bit more because he's used to busting runs, both he and Price, and when you can't, oh my God, it gets on your nerves and gets under your skin. So they were able to, and that's why I like this quarterback now, because if this was happening last year with Riley Leonard, we would have just turned to Riley Leonard to run the ball some more. But now we've got the ability to throw the ball down the field. You stop our run, so what? We'll hit the tight end for 15, and congratulations to Kiki for getting his first touchdown catch. Yeah, we're starting to see receivers come out of the woodwork. We never had that the past couple of years. We actually got some receivers, but more importantly, we got a dude who can stretch the field and push the ball down the field.
Yeah, you look at that first drive. I mean, the two throws to Pauling on that first drive where they scored in the first quarter, like they went through that defense like it was butter. I mean, it was easy peasy that first drive. It didn't feel like North Carolina State at that point was going to be able to stop the Irish at all in this game. And then obviously the rest of the first half is a struggle. So what do you guys want to see done differently next week versus USC? And then we'll take a break and get to the second half. But what do you want to see differently in the first half next week against USC to try to avoid the slow start that we saw today?
For me, I want to see the offense do the little things better. And that starts with upfront offensive linemen staying on their blocks and staying with good pad level, and in the backs trusting their reads, staying within the flow. Because when we establish the run, it opens up everything else. And like I said, developing a rhythm. And I definitely want to see better play calling in terms of finding that rhythm offensively. That's huge. For getting Coach Denbrock to find that, get his mojo back as it relates to play calling. Because again, some of the calls that were made, and like I said, on those fourth downs, it was head scratching. And just trust what you do, know who you are, and stick with that, and stop trying to don't get cute. I don't need you to get cute. I need you to You'll be fundamentally sound because you have the players and the capability of doing it. Just let those guys go out and play and compete and play the game without trying to, have all these little cute plays here and there. Because again, the game of football still comes back to being fundamentally sound, running and tackling. Stop the run the ball, tackle, turnovers. Because again, continue the turnover thing too. By the way, I'm digging that right now.
Yeah. And I think another way I could say it, Reggie, is establish who you are at the beginning of the game. Establish who you want to be at the beginning of the game. And I think it took a while for Notre Dame to put forward that mindset. But when they did do it, that NC State unit became a mass unit after a while. Guy after guy was laying down on the field and people being put out of the game. So, from jump, you just have to establish this is how we're going to play. And when you do that, then you'll get in that rhythm.
All right, we'll take our first break here. So first half was a struggle. Second half was very good. They outscored North Carolina State 26-0 in the second half. Let's get into that next here on the Irish Squad Show. Today's show is brought to you by DoorDash. It is the weekend. It's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most, and let's break it down. So for Notre Dame today, for the player that delivered the most, I'm going to go Will Paul in here. 4 catches, averaging over 26 yards per reception, 2 touchdowns in this game. He was phenomenal, getting open for CJ Carr throughout this entire game. Really loved what we saw from him getting into the end zone twice. So just like he delivered, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $100 in DoorDash or save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, and fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through 11/18. All right, so the Irish come out and they dominate the second half. It's a tale of two teams. It was a totally different team, guys, from what we saw in the second half versus the first half. They outscore them 26-0. It was 29 straight answered after North Carolina State scored their touchdown. That's very impressive, I think, within itself, even though North Carolina State isn't a great team, but to dominate someone in that fashion. So what changed? Like, what's the big difference, Alan? We'll start with you. What's the big difference in the second half versus the first half in this game?
The defense kept giving them opportunities, and pretty soon you're going to get into a flow. And I think the field goal at the end of the half was so important because it gave them a little more freedom to, be free and easy running their plays, although the first possession of the second half was a dud. But I think it loosened them up a little bit to know they have the lead. And if they continue to run their offense the way they know how to run their offense, they're going to get the results that they want. But again, the defense kept giving them opportunities. And, this was one of those games where the defense really stood up.
Reggie?
For me, it was just, again, that first drive was like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? This is not, but they came right back and got that long drive in the second one, 11 plays, 90 yards, moving the ball on the ground through the air. And the guy that really stood out to me, and I think he's going to continue to be a force, is Eli Reardon. I just love the way what we're getting out of the tight end position. I was kind of glad to see we had a couple of 2 tight end sets in there. So that was kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, I can work with this. So the more we can get this, that second half energy, but I completely agree with Alan. It's like, man, this is the new defense. This is a brand new defense. They look a lot sharper tackling. And I know they talked about that. Coach getting them tackling more and tackling drills more. But this defense is flying around, making plays, turning the ball over. That's was something that they did a lot last year, and they're starting to look more and more like that team. And I talked about this. Christian Gray played with a lot more confidence.
Yeah.
He looked a lot more sure of himself. He made plays. He was right there with the receivers, not getting, not peeking in the backfield. He played his guy, and it showed up in his play on the field.
And I just wanted to comment a little more on Eli Raritan. You remember the game against Miami? He just looked like he was happy to catch it. And, we go through that transition, Reggie, where you get out on the field for the first time and you just happy to get the ball, and they throw it to you and you catch it, you fall down right away because all your concentration is on just catching the ball. And then you gain confidence, and now it's not just about catching the ball. It's what kind of move am I going to make on this dude after I catch the ball? That confidence you gain, the more reps you get having some success. And I think right now Eli Raritan is positioning himself to be that premier tight end in the country that folks are going to be salivating over when it comes draft time. I don't even know what year he is, but I'm just telling you, his level of play from Miami to now, he looks like a totally different player. He looks like a confident player. He looks like somebody you can count on, and he looks like a guy who just sits there and says, give me the ball and I'll make something happen.
Well, he is a senior, and I'm not sure if we have more eligibility, but
yeah,
his growth has been.
Yeah, I knew he was a senior. I didn't know what his eligibility was.
I'm hoping we still have him for another year, but not sure. So because he has definitely stepped his game up, and you can see the confidence, and it's amazing what confidence does for you. Just like you were saying, the more opportunity he gets, the better he gets, the better feel he gets. Guy that's kind of confidence in his fade is that Jordan Faison.
Yeah.
That young man, he plays at such a level, and you're starting to get Will Paul, and you talked about this, Alan. You're starting to see more guys in that receiver group getting involved. KK Smith, Jordan Faison. I was kind of disappointed in some of the throws that CJ had. He missed on some throws that he's normally spot on with. And, that was that struggle of trying to make something happen. But when they let the game come to them and it's flowing, you can see he's on point. Like the touchdown to KK Smith, boom, came across, read it, delivered the football, touchdown. And that's when that's that rhythm, when you have that confidence to make those throws on a consistent basis, where you're not, because again, I think he was 61% passing percentage, which was down for him. So I just think the more he can get those opportunities, but finding that flow is going to be critical for offensively. But defense, these fellas found their mojo for sure, because we're starting to get some guys to get into the quarterback. We were able to get a few more sacks, and Boubacar Traore, he is that man's on a mission for sure.
Yeah, if we can keep him healthy. But you talked during the week about how CJ corrects himself usually within the game. This was one where when they scored the touchdown to Kiki, you remember last week he missed on that identical play. It was the same blitz, but threw the ball too far out in front. But this time, when he got that same blitz, he was able to sit in the pocket, stand tall and throw a strike to KK. So that's what we call a maturation process. And he's doing it at such a rate that he is starting to get a lot of national attention, which, it's that can be sometimes a curse too. What does Nick Saban call it? Rat poison. Mm-hmm. When everybody is telling you how good you are and everything, and then the worst part is you start believing it. But I don't think he's that type of individual. He hasn't displayed that type of character. What I see of him, because body language means a lot to me for a quarterback. And when I see his body language and I see him come off the field and be disgusted with himself or just be sometimes disappointed in his play, that's the kind of quarterback I want. Somebody who's anxious to get back out there and right that wrong.
We got this question here in the chat. You guys are talking about the defense here. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Do you guys think this is Chris Ash that got these guys back on track, or is this Marcus Freeman coaching in the shadows a little bit? Just what's the big picture? Like what's happening with this defense that it's so much better right now? I
think it's a combination of both. Because you actually look at Coach Ash now, and you don't see that deer in the headlights so much, and like, what am I doing here type look. And I think again, it starts with communication, and I think that's where Coach Freeman comes in. Better communication between him and his staff to say, hey, you got not, and it's not just those two. It's also Mike Mickens and D-line coach and linebacker coach to say, hey, what are we doing? What is our expectation? Where are we trying to go? And Coach Ash needs to be able to communicate that to the staff so they get on the same page. So, and I still go back to when Coach Freeman was talking about the back end and the front end not being on the same page. And that's communication. I will say I saw some things that were a little concerning again, where we had guys struggling to get lined up again this game on the defensive side of the ball. I was like, fellas, we need to know where we're supposed to be and get there. But when they get lined up, when they get in the game and figure out where they're supposed to be, they're getting there with purpose. And again, and they're making plays. They're making plays. And you only make plays consistently when you know what you're doing. In this group, defensively, they've developed. And I would say again to the question, yes, I think it's both. I think it's Coach Ash and I think it's Coach Freeman having a better line of communication from a defensive standpoint. So from head coach to D coordinator to our defensive staff, and defensive staff to the players. That communication is happening, because if it wasn't happening, these guys wouldn't have made such marked improvements in such a short period of time.
You remember, I guess it was after the A&M game, they had a meeting where Marcus Freeman said it was going to be uncomfortable, and he did defend his defensive coordinator, saying it's not one person, it's everybody, and what we need people to do is do their damn job. And so I think what has happened is an emphasis placed on by the head coach through the defensive coordinator. If you do your job, little things, Reggie, like if I'd ask you to go and stuff the B gap, then don't freelance and come around to the A gap, stuff the B gap. If I'm asking you to maintain inside leverage on coverage, don't jump outside the guy guessing, just do what we tell you. And I think, that's how you basically simplify it. All right. It is do your job. And then what has happened is now they're doing their job and they're seeing results. So I guess the answer to the question would be both. But, these guys respect Marcus Freeman so much. And sometimes, I think one of the things that people were kind of leery of is when he has to, really criticize them horribly, is he going to be able to do it? Because they respect him so much, and might be because he's close in age to him, might be like they're buddies and everything. When he has to, shout down, I wish I could say it a different way. When he has to really get on them, how are they going to respond? But I think his growth over the years, he knows how to do that. He knows how to convey his message, whether it's directly to the player or to his coaches, so for everybody can get the message. And I think that's the result of that has been better play on the defense.
If I was a player and I saw the way that he yelled at referees, I don't think I'd ever want to be on Marcus Freeman's bad side, because my gosh, he gets after those guys in the stripes. He had a lot of reasons to in this game too.
Yes, indeed.
Break with both those replays, I can't believe either of them Like I thought the first one was definitely an incomplete pass, and I thought Christian Gray definitely had an interception. I don't understand replay anymore. Like I was like baffled watching both of those. I was so shocked the way they called it on the field.
This goes back to what Alan has been talking about, is having a national officiating crews. And we were watching the game and it said someone was made a point of, even if you're going to stick with the crews of by conference, then actually have conferences, referees from other conferences reffing games. So if you're SEC, then if you're SEC versus ACC, then Big 12 is officiating your game. If you're Big 12 versus Big 10, then you got the SEC crew, reffing that game. But having because like I said, for Notre Dame, the crew, and when we're playing an ACC school, the crew is the officiating crew, and the replay group officials are ACC. I don't know how fair that's going to be. So, because like I said, that reception and then non-reception was so egregious. We're like, what game are you watching? Are you even officiating this game that we're watching? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, what am I supposed to believe, you or my lying eyes? My eyes, and even the experts. And look, it's hard to be an expert because they got to be, up on the rules of the game, and the rules change all the time. And the dude that was on this broadcast, I mean, he broke it down, talking about, what is control, what isn't control, and went through every letter of the law on the thing to say, okay, this should be a catch and this should be a drop, and they still got it wrong. Now, usually in a game, those things sort themselves out. Referees, sometimes they have a bad day too. And when they screw up a call, sometimes you can just about always count on them having a makeup call, to sort of balance it out. But I am for, one agenda with the rest. The SEC may see targeting one way, the Big 12 will see targeting a different way. The ACC may not want as much taunting, where let's name the American Conference is like, talk all you want. I'm just going to, focus on your play. One standard is, I think, what we're looking for. And we're just going to have to, because Notre Dame is an independent, just going to have to deal with what we have, but just, clean it up when we have to clean it up.
All right, we'll take our next break here. When we get back, let's go a little more deep into these fourth down tries, because they didn't do a direct snap this week, guys, but they weren't that great either. So we'll get to that next here on the Irish Squad Show. Today's show is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's movement that moved the game forward, I think Alan hit on it earlier. I think that field goal there as well, to end the half, to get points back on the board, was really the thing that gave Notre Dame the momentum. And it was a great drive, very quick drive to get into field position. They moved efficiently on the offense. So all of that was a huge momentum builder for Notre Dame in this game. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, guys, fourth down is not getting much better. There's no other way to cut it. It's just not. They're trying different things. They didn't do the direct snap this week. I know CJ had the interception in this game, but taking the sack on the fourth down is a huge cardinal sin for a quarterback. I mean, the pressure was crazy. And those guys came off the backside. No one blocked, it feels like. Maybe that was the design, but it was just a jailbreak. Yeah, it was brutal. Like the only conversion they have on fourth down is Buckner coming in and getting the draw on the punt fake thing they did. But it's not good on fourth down. Like This to me feels like the number one priority almost at this point for the offense. It's the slow starts, figuring out fourth down. Like Alan, you mentioned at the start of the show, if you're going to be this aggressive, I get it. But you mentioned Dan Campbell. The Lions convert. Like Jared Goff and those guys, like they convert their fourth down conversions. The Irish, I think they showed the graphic, are like one of the worst teams in the nation in it at this point this season. So, Reggie, break it down for me. Like, what's going on in this game on fourth down and just this season on fourth down?
I've yet to see us line up under center on the fourth down. I don't understand why that is. Because again, some of these quarterbacks in this day and age, they have not, been under center. So it's not, it's a learned skill. You have to, because you saw what happened with, NC State. They got under center and botched the snap and wind up getting a safety. But I'm sorry, you teach them, coach them up. You need to be able to get under center at some point in time and say, okay, hey, let's see whose big boys are bigger, who got a bigger pair, and come off the ball. And the Eagles are probably the best at doing it. I mean, I don't necessarily need CJ to be able to leg press 1,000 pounds, but I do need to say, hey, can you get up under center and get a push to get a yard? Push to get a yard. But whenever you're starting 7 yards, 7 yards deep, and the ball is snapped, you've lost yardage right there. You automatically lose yardage immediately with a shotgun snap. And I don't know if they're just not comfortable with it, but they need to develop that aspect of the game for this short yardage, at least in my mind, for the short yardage situation to get better. And to your point, the rollout to the boundary. Why are we rolling to the boundary? It's nothing good comes when you roll into the boundary. And again, it's just you have less room and no room for error. And why is he taking the sack on a fourth down? When you're outside the pocket, the one time when you can throw it away and it's not going to be intentional grounding, you don't do it. And I'm thinking he was in his head, I don't want to get an intentional grounding call, so I'm just going to take the sack. But I just, again, and this is a learning curve, not just for CJ, but for the entire offense and for Coach Denbrock. I mean, again, love Coach Denbrock. Great guy. He got to get this stuff together. He's the offensive coordinator. He's calling these plays. So a lot of this falls on his shoulders. So he has to figure this out because it is not good right now. It is not good, and it's coming. You're getting down to the wire. You can't have these same fourth down mishaps, especially if you're going to keep doing it. You got to convert. Conversion is key. And right now, it's not happening for us.
I'm going to answer it a different way. I think I want them to continue going for it on fourth down because, like I said, I think it sends a lot of confidence to the players that we trust them. I would like to see better plays called, and they will find those better plays. But Reggie, remember sometimes when we had to tell the coaches, hey, coach, they're getting paid on that side of the ball too. They're going to make some plays. I think that the defenses that Notre Dame has played have made some good plays on fourth down. And where Notre Dame just, thought that they might suck in on a run, they anticipated pass, and you're rolling out to do a pass, and there's no place to throw the football. So defense is going to make good plays sometimes. I think a lot of that happened. We do need to find that package, and I know Denbrock has a package of fourth down plays that we can run that will be successful, but we got to go through these, and then there's the execution part too. But it's not just all, not Notre Dame is sorry on fourth down. It's, sometimes defense will come smack you in the mouth too. It's a combination of both. It'll get figured out. But today, there was a lot of playing behind the sticks, a lot of being off schedule, which, took Notre Dame out of its rhythm. But I don't know who your running back coach was, Reggie, but I had Mal Moore, who eventually ended up, coaching at Alabama, becoming the athletic director at Alabama, is the one responsible for bringing Nick Saban to Alabama. He would say to me, fourth down is about pride and want to. That's one of them country smart sayings. But that always stuck with me. It's not about outsmarting somebody. It's not really about tactically outguessing somebody. It's about pride and want to. And just haven't seen a lot of that on a lot of the fourth downs.
Well, as you was kind of pointing out, though, but it's also, I'm sorry, I got to keep going back to the under center thing. Like,
yeah,
that's bugging me. That's because, like, you're right there, but you're snapping the ball back versus snapping the ball less than a yard from where you're at. And if it's 4th and 1, you instead of having to go 6 yards or 7 yards,
yeah,
you just got to go 1.
You want to see some more quarterback sneaks, huh?
If not quarterback sneaks, at least have the running back running downhill, with a load of with some momentum
instead of shuffling and then running.
Yeah. I said, boom, turn around, hand it off. But the back is coming downhill.
Yeah.
And hey, this could be one of them where Jeremiyah, he likes to jump. Hey, go jump over the top. Hey, but he's coming down with some momentum downhill to actually make that jump.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, we did see, NC State, like they do drive right down the field and score after CJ is sacked. I think that's the one that CJ was sacked on. Like that's their only possession where they score in this game is after you get stopped on 4th down, they march 83 yards down the field and they score. And like it's the only because that feels like that's just momentum, right there.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the momentum is there for NC State getting the 4th down stop, moving down the field. So what do you guys want to see next week? Like you're playing USC, a team that can punish you more if you make these kind of mistakes. Do you think or want we'll see Notre Dame be more conservative against a team like USC and take the field goals, or they're just going to keep playing like this all season?
Sometimes, like we both said, sometimes it's good to take the points. And that comes back to decision making. Sometimes it's good to say, okay, hey, yeah, we're aggressive, and that's good. But sometimes, like I said, certain situations, take the points, to get kind of build some momentum, and also give yourself a little leg room as it were away from from a point standpoint with the other team. Because like I said, it's different going in 13 to 7 or 13 or 16-7 versus going in the halftime 10-7. 9 points is a lot more comfortable than 3. So going into this USC game, you got to throw everything out the window. This is a rivalry game. So you got to approach it in that manner as, hey, we're not going to come in with any expectations of, whether, USC is up or down. That does not matter. Mm-hmm. Whether we're up or down. This is a rivalry game. You got to step on their necks from the word go. And I want to see some aggression. Not, that after the players, I'm talking about when the players on, punch somebody in the mouth, make sure they know you're there, and get physical with USC. I just, I've always felt that California ball that they play out there, they don't want to be physical. We're in the Midwest. We like to grind it out. I want to see some hard-nosed physical play, and it starts with establishing the line of scrimmage early and immediately. And I'd love to see him like, hey, hell, run a quarterback sneak right out the gate and push him 5 yards back and make sure let's challenge some manhood. I want to challenge some manhood next week.
Yeah, and let's face it, when you play in NC State, you got to create some hate. That hate's already there when you play USC. So I have no doubt that everybody will be on the same page for USC. And that's what some games do to you. But the maturity of a good team means they have that same focus and mindset when they're playing the Sisters of the Poor as when they play USC. But, they're humans. So sometimes these are 18 to 22-year-old kids sometimes. And I don't think that they thought less of NC State, but there won't be any questions about how they think when they play USC. So I'm not worried at all when they play USC about what type of game plan, gaining momentum, maintaining momentum, mindset to play our arch rival.
All right, we'll take our last break here. For people on YouTube, it's going to be about 5 seconds, so it'll be a short one for you guys. We'll talk about what we saw from the defense in this game, as well as I got to get a quick story or two from these guys from when they played USC as well. Get to that next here on the Irish Squad Show. All right, let's talk about the defense again. So 14 points the last 2 weeks. Feels like not that long ago, guys. We were doing a show and we said Notre Dame's offense would have to score 40 points every week to be winning football games. Right now, all they got to do is score 10 the last 2 weeks to get a W. What's your biggest takeaway from the defense in this game, Reggie, of why it's looking so much better at this point in the season?
It just seems like they're playing with more confidence and certainty about what they're doing versus again, I go back to Christian Gray because when he was looking, because it actually the touchdown pass that NC State had, it was again Dallas Golden taking a little false step and kind of getting trying to reach and hey, I got him, and he gave him that and then got up the field. Again, don't guess. We don't need you to guess. When they're not guessing and just playing and reacting, that's when you get those interceptions. The Hobbs interception, again, he underthrew it, but he maintained his proper leverage on the ball by staying over the top of him. So when he saw the ball, he could come back and play on it and get the interception versus trailing and trying to figure out where the ball is, where the guy is. He knew where he was on the field. He knew his responsibility, and he executed. Christian Gray, Don Shula, and Leonard Moore. That kid is ridiculous. That kid is ridiculous.
He's so good.
But you see it in how he plays. You see it in his face. There's no questioning, I'm the man. He looks like that every time they pan over to him. He's like, hey, whenever you see the ball going in his direction, you've got to feel good. It's like, hey, this could be a pick.
Yeah.
This could be a pick because he's going to make a play on the ball. But when the other guys do it, Tay Johnson, that secondary. Well, and you look at what's going on with the linebacker crew now. These guys are starting to fire the ball, making plays, hitting people. Again, the assurance of, hey, I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm supposed to be. I'm going to get there with violent intentions. And you just see them coming in, making the play, stripping. And I think that's going to be the next thing we see with this defense. They're going to say, hey, now we got them. We rally to the ball. Now let's get it out of there. Let's start stripping. So it's been a progression that we saw with CJ. I think we're seeing that same progression with the defense of, hey, first we got to figure out where we're supposed to be. Now we need to figure out, hey, okay, let's get around the ball and okay, we know where we're supposed to be. We're starting to tackle a little bit better. And that next step is to creating the turnovers, and that's what you've seen the last few games.
Well, I'll say it like this. Sometimes stats will tell you the story, and sometimes stats don't say a damn thing. But in this case, talking about the defense, the stats really do tell the story. This team averaged 33 points a game coming in. We hold them to 7. All right. This running back, Hollywood Smothers, 4 100-yard games. What was he? The top 5 rusher in the country. Rushes 13 times for 45 yards. Quarterback averaging 276 yards passing this season. We hold him to 182. So sometimes the stats tell you the truth. And this quarterback is not a slouch. Now, I guess the only other really bad game he had was against Duke, and that was against a crew that had a coach who knows how to coach defense. But he's got a good arm. They had 55 explosive plays coming into this game. But I can think of maybe they had 2 today. One of them was the touchdown. So the stats tell the story about the defense, how smothering they were, how intent they were on stopping this defense. And as the game went along, you could tell how uncomfortable the quarterback felt when he was dropping back. How, when you can make a team one-dimensional and we know they got to throw the football, and the quarterback's like, oh, damn. At least let me get rid of this ball quick or something, or I hope they can block him now, because defense is pinning their ears back now. And we get to a point where we don't have to send 5 or 6. We can send 4 now. You get late in the game when you've made them one-dimensional. But I just wanted to, talk about some of the stats. I don't like to always lean on stats, because when I broadcast with Don Cricky, he used to say there are lies, there are damn lies, and there are statistics. And the statistics didn't lie this time. I mean, that was a butt whooping by the defense. You can't say enough or praise them enough for what they did to one of the more explosive offenses in the country. They just shut them down, systematically shut them down, physically shut them down. So the praise, although the offense was able to put up, a number of points, all the praise should go to the defense.
Yeah, I think so. We saw a lot more. We're seeing a lot better pressure too. I think. I mean, obviously that started right away with Carr, getting to the quarterback, but the pressure seems to be ramping up as well with blitzes, without blitzing. That also seems to be very much. It looks so much better, and there will be people who will try to downgrade it and say it's NC State. But as you pointed out, Alan, they've put up a lot of points and a lot of yards so far this season, so they do deserve credit for that. We also saw a big drop in penalties this week, which I know we talked about last week. Notre Dame only had, I think, 6 in this game, so that's positive. That's a step in the right direction, guys, as well. There's way less penalties this week because it was brutal last week.
Yeah, it was, again, and still it was brutal. The officiating was still not great. Mm-hmm. But they did a much better job of playing within themselves, and again, not getting the pass interference penalties, or it was kind of the sloppiness was in the after the play, extracurricular activities in terms of getting the personal fouls and unsportsmanlike. Yeah. Again, that's just a matter of getting that aggression that you want to see. It's kind of reining in. Like I said, let's, after you make your play, do your dance with your teammates.
Yep.
So KVA did that. Hey, but don't fool with the other team, because again, apparently that's something that they were really looking at, because some of them, it's like, I don't know, the one that with Bryce Young and the stare down. Like I said, it's not like he just drove the guy. And then one of our guys, early in the game, he literally, we get a sack and the offensive lineman blocks him and then jumps on top of him and don't throw anything. I'm like, wait a minute.
They didn't throw any penalty on that.
And I'm like, come on. If
he's like a WWE takedown.
Yeah. And it's like, you're going to do that, then make it. And that's what I said. I love how Coach Freeman's going at these referees because some of these calls are just heinous.
Yeah, and less penalties. What's happening is Notre Dame is showing you that they are coachable. And one of the things you want to have happen as each game goes by is improve. Now, are we seeing Notre Dame improve? I would love to have this team now or play Miami or Texas A&M now. You want your team to be ascending, and they are ascending. And when you're ascending, you're going to have less penalties. You're going to stay on schedule more. They are improving each week, and they don't have a choice if they want to try and get in the playoffs. It's not just they got to win, they got to cover too. I mean, they got to make it a no doubt type of situation where they can see, oh, that team was beat so bad. Notre Dame's got to be good because they beat them. They not only covered, they passed the cover. It's got to be decisive because the people that vote don't get a chance to see all the games, but they look at the score and they derive their thoughts and opinions from what the score is. Now, other teams have been doing this for years. They'll drop 70 on the board just to send a message. And like your boy at Indiana, Signetti, he will put 60, 70 on you in a second, because he knows he has to show that their team not only won, but were dominant. Notre Dame is sort of in that position too. So I was happy to see today that they didn't take their foot off the gas because they could have stopped at 24-7. They had that game won at 24-7, but they needed to really go out just so they could have a much better feeling after the game was over that they did their job. They needed to put more points on the board. And now the nation can see, okay, Notre Dame might not be a joke. They might be there in the end.
I know you guys will do more on this probably during the week as well on your midweek Irish Squad show, but give me a favorite USC story that you guys got. Okay, I think I got this right. Neither of you lost to USC. Is that correct?
I lost one time my freshman year, but it was a controversial call. It was John Robinson's last game, and on the front page of the newspaper, not the sports page, the front page of the newspaper, the running back for USC was going over the top and had dropped the ball, and you could see in the picture the ball was below him, and the newspaper circled the ball on the front page, not the sports page, on the front page. So that was they took that one from us. But go ahead, Reggie. I would love to hear your USC story.
Well, mine is bittersweet because, like I said, my senior year we're playing them out there. And this is, again, last time we're going to play USC as my senior year, and I have a ridiculous game. I got to admit, it was ridiculous. Rush, I was averaging like 18 yards a carry or some craziness like that. And after the game, we would usually stay an extra day. We didn't come back that evening, and normally you go out and hang out in Cali, and LA is one place to hang out. Well, I was sick as a dog and did not get to go out and enjoy the fruits of my labor. So it was a bittersweet game. We thumped USC pretty handily, but I didn't get to go out and rub it in their faces. That was probably, I really wanted to do that because it was just like, yes, we beat that behind. Now I get to go party in your neighborhood.
Well, my story is, we did start the streak of winning. My sophomore, junior, senior year, we won all 3 years. In my junior year, we decided to, at halftime, we were winning the game. But at halftime, we came out in green jerseys, to honor the 77 team or so many other teams. We wore the green jerseys. And after the game, I got interviewed, and they were talking about the green jerseys. Yeah, trying to ask me, was it because of the green jerseys that you won? And I'm like, no, we had a good game plan. We executed well. We could have been wearing T-shirts. We would have won that game. So the following year, we go out to USC, and Ted Tollner is the coach, and he is just livid about that comment about the Pinkett says we can beat USC in T-shirts. So yes, I was taken out of context, and half the team was pissed that I said that, and the other half said we got your back. But we went out and won anyway, so we could shut up Ted Tollner and say, dude, if you're going to coach like that, go back to high school.
I'm pretty sure my guy Sean Salisbury was the quarterback of that team.
Oh yeah, Sean
for
was
USC. Yeah.
Yes, he was. Oh yeah.
That's my guy. So
I know Sean. I know Sean well. Yep.
All right. Well, that'll wrap it up for us. Remember, hit that subscribe button here to the Locked On Irish YouTube channel. Catch these guys on Thursday for the Irish Squad show, as well as make sure you check out Tyler Wojak Monday through Friday for his daily Locked On Irish podcast. Thank you all for listening. Good job to Notre Dame today by dominating them in the second half and giving us a fun one to talk about as well. We will talk to you next Saturday night after they play the Trojans. Have a good one. Peace.